The monitoring station floated in the darkness of space, its metal hull reflecting the distant stars. Inside, Lieutenant Jiwon sat at her console, watching the sensor displays with tired eyes. She had been on duty for 6 hours and nothing interesting had happened. That was normal. Nothing interesting ever happened at Border Station 447. The Vakron Empire controlled this entire sector of space. Their ships patrolled the trade routes. Their laws governed 47 star systems. For 300 years, no one had challenged them. No one dared to challenge them. The Empire's military was too strong, too advanced, too overwhelming. Jiwon sipped her cold coffee and watched the green dots on her screen. Each dot represented a ship, cargo haulers, passenger transports, mining vessels. Every single one transmitted its registry code. Every single one appeared in the Empire's database. She could identify any ship in seconds just by checking its code against the central records. Then something new appeared on her screen. It was small, barely the size of a Corvette, but it had no identification beacon. No registry code, no transponder signal, just a blank void where the ship's information should be. Jiwon leaned forward and ran the scan again. The result was the same. The ship existed, but according to the database, it did not exist. That was impossible. Every vessel in known space was registered. Even pirates had stolen registry codes they used to hide their identity. She tapped the communication panel. "Commander Hyunwoo, we have an unidentified contact in Sector 447 Alpha." The commander's voice came through clearly. "Define unidentified. No beacon, no registry, no match in the database. The ship just appeared on long-range sensors." Jiwon pulled up the energy readings. "Sir, the propulsion signature is unusual. I have never seen anything like it." There was silence for a moment. Then Hyunwoo spoke again. "I'm coming to your station. Keep tracking it." 5 minutes later, Commander Hyunwoo stood behind Jiwon's chair, studying the displays. He was a veteran of 20 years, and he had seen many strange things in space. But this was new even for him. "How long until it enters our patrol zone?" he asked. 12 minutes at current speed, Jiwon replied. She enhanced the sensor data. "Sir, the power output is strange. It keeps fluctuating in patterns I cannot explain." Hyunwoo made his decision quickly. "Contact Captain Minho, tell him to intercept with his squadron. Standard protocol. Warning shots, then forced shutdown, then boarding." Jiwon sent the message. Within minutes, 12 Vakron warships changed course and moved toward the unknown vessel. Each warship was a masterpiece of military engineering. They carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Their shields could withstand direct hits from anti-ship missiles. The Empire had used these ships to conquer entire civilizations. Captain Minho commanded the squadron from his flagship. He was confident. Why would he not be? In 15 years of service, he had never encountered a ship that could threaten a Vakron warship. This unknown vessel would be no different. It would surrender, or it would be destroyed. The 12 ships formed a standard interception pattern. They surrounded the unknown vessel at a distance of 10,000 kilometers. Their weapons were armed, but not yet firing. This was procedure. The Empire always gave targets a chance to surrender. Minho opened a communication channel. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Vakron Empire space without authorization. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. You have 30 seconds to comply." There was no response. Minho waited. The seconds ticked away. Still nothing. He nodded to his weapons officer. "Fire warning shots. Make them understand we are serious." Energy beams lanced through space, passing within 100 meters of the unknown ship. They were intentionally aimed to miss, to frighten, to force compliance. The unknown ship stopped moving. It hung motionless in space as if considering its options. Then its weapon ports opened. Back at the monitoring station, Jiwon watched her displays with growing horror. "Commander, the unknown ship is powering weapons." Hyunwoo leaned closer. "What kind of weapons?" "I do not know. The energy signature is completely unfamiliar." Her fingers flew across the controls. "Sir, the power levels are increasing rapidly. This does not make sense. A ship that size should not be able to generate that much energy." On the tactical display, the unknown vessel's weapons reached full charge. What happened next took 47 seconds. The unknown ship fired. But these were not normal weapons. Projectiles moved at speeds that made them almost invisible to sensors. They struck the Vakron warships with impossible precision. Each shot hit exactly where it would cause maximum damage. Shield generators exploded. Engine cores ruptured. Hull plating vaporized. Captain Minho had time to order evasive maneuvers. His ships scattered, trying to escape the devastating barrage. It made no difference. The unknown ship tracked each target with perfect accuracy. Its weapons seemed to ignore the Vacron shields entirely, passing through them as if they were not there. Missiles launched from the unknown vessel. They did not fly in straight lines. They curved and weaved through space, avoiding every countermeasure the Vacron ships deployed. When they hit, they detonated with force that split warships in half. Energy beams cut through the vacuum. They were different from Vacron weapons. They burned hotter, moved faster, and penetrated deeper. One beam sliced completely through a warship from bow to stern. The ship broke apart in a shower of debris and frozen atmosphere. Ji-won could not believe what her sensors were showing her. 12 warships. The pride of the Vacron military. Each one capable of destroying cities. All of them were dying. Captain Minho's flagship was the last to fall. He transmitted one final message before his ship exploded. "Tell the Admiral. Tell her this is not possible. No ship should be able to..." The transmission ended in static. Silence filled the monitoring station. Ji-won stared at her screen. Where 12 green dots had been, there was now only debris. And in the center of the destruction, one ship remained, the unknown vessel. Its shields had never even been scratched. Its hull showed no damage. It simply floated there, surrounded by the wreckage of the Vacron squadron. Commander Hyun-woo's face had gone pale. His hands gripped the edge of the console. "Get me Admiral Subin. Emergency priority, now." Ji-won opened the communication channel with shaking fingers. This was beyond anything in the protocols. This was beyond anything in the history of the Empire. One ship had just annihilated an entire squadron in less than a minute. The unknown vessel began moving again. It was heading toward the monitoring station. Hyun-woo activated the station's defensive systems. They were pitiful compared to what had just destroyed 12 warships, but it was all they had. He looked at his crew. "Prepare for evacuation. If that ship attacks, we will not survive." Ji-won watched the unknown vessel approach. It moved with confidence, with purpose. This was not a lost explorer. This was not a smuggler who had disabled their beacon. This was something else entirely. Something the Vacron Empire had never encountered before. The ship was still not in the database. It had no name, no registry, no history. But it had just proven something terrifying. There was someone out there with technology far beyond what the Empire possessed. Someone who could destroy their most powerful warships without effort. And that someone was coming closer. The emergency transmission reached Admiral Subin at the Empire's military headquarters on Vakros Prime. She was in a strategic planning meeting when her aide interrupted with urgent news. The aide's face was white with shock. "Admiral, we have lost contact with Captain Minho's squadron. All 12 ships. Border Station 447 reports they were destroyed by an unknown vessel." Subin stood up immediately. "Destroyed? 12 warships? That is impossible." The station commander sent full sensor records. The battle lasted 47 seconds, 47 seconds. Subin felt cold anger rising in her chest. She had commanded the Vacron military for 12 years. In that time, the Empire had lost individual ships to accidents or rare ambushes. But never an entire squadron. Never in less than a minute. She strode to the command center, her officers following close behind. The main display showed the sensor data from Border Station 447. Subin watched the recording 3 times. Each time she hoped to see something different. Each time the result was the same. 12 of her ships vaporized by a vessel that should not exist. "Get me Dr. Yoonji," Subin ordered. "I want that unknown ship analyzed. I want to know what weapons it used, where it came from, and how we can kill it." Dr. Yoonji arrived within the hour. She was the Empire's top xenotechnology expert. A woman who had studied alien weapons systems from 30 different civilizations. She took one look at the sensor data and went silent. "Well," Subin demanded, "what are we dealing with?" Yoonji ran the analysis programs. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic interface. "These weapon signatures do not match anything in our database. The projectile weapons are firing at relativistic speeds. The missiles are using guidance systems more advanced than our best military technology. The energy weapons appear to operate on principles I do not fully understand. Give me your best estimate. What civilization built this ship?" "That is the problem, Admiral. I cannot identify it. The technology is decades ahead of us, maybe centuries." Yoonji highlighted sections of the recording. "Look at how the ship moves. Perfect efficiency, no wasted energy, and its targeting systems are flawless. Every shot hit exactly where it would cause catastrophic damage. Subin studied the data. Yunji was right. The unknown ship had not just attacked. It had executed a perfect massacre. So somewhere out there is a civilization with technology superior to ours, and we never knew they existed. It appears that way. At Border Station 447, Ensign Do-hyun sat at the communications console, monitoring all frequencies. He was young and nervous, but he was good at his job. When the unknown ship had destroyed the squadron, he had recorded everything. Every sensor ping, every energy emission, every fragment of data. Now he was reviewing those recordings, looking for anything useful. That was when he found it. A brief transmission from the unknown ship. It had been sent just before the battle started. The transmission lasted only 3 seconds and it was heavily encrypted. Do-hyun isolated the signal and ran it through the Empire's translation computers. The result made no sense. The computers could not translate the language. It was not in the database, but there was something familiar about the mathematical structures underlying the message. Sent the data to Dr. Yunji with a priority tag. Yunji received the transmission data while she was still in Admiral Subin's command center. She opened the file and began analyzing it immediately. Her eyes widened as she recognized patterns in the mathematical framework. Admiral, I need to access the historical archives, specifically first contact records from 150 years ago. Subin frowned. Why? Because this transmission has structural similarities to old Earth languages. The name meant nothing to most of the people in the command center. Earth was a footnote in the Empire's expansion records. A small planet with a primitive species that the Empire had encountered and then ignored. They were not worth conquering. They had barely achieved faster-than-light travel when the Vakron survey ships found them. But Yunji remembered. She had studied every first contact in Vakron history. Earth had been assessed as technologically inferior and strategically unimportant. The Empire had moved on to more valuable targets. That was 150 years ago. Yunji pulled up the old records. Images of Earth appeared on the displays. A blue and green planet, cities made of metal and glass, primitive spacecraft that moved slowly through their local star system. She compared the language structures from the transmission to samples of human communication from 150 years ago. The match was not perfect, but it was close enough. This transmission had been sent by humans, or by their descendants. Admiral, Yunji said quietly, I think we made a terrible mistake a century and a half ago. Subin looked at the images of Earth. Explain. We encountered humanity when they were primitive. We dismissed them as irrelevant. We never went back to check on them. We assumed they would remain primitive. Yunji brought up the sensor data from the unknown ship. What if they did not remain primitive? What if they spent the last 150 years advancing, learning, building ships like this one? The implications hung in the air like poison. The Vakron Empire had encountered a potential threat and then ignored it. They had given humanity 150 years of uninterrupted development, and now a human ship had just destroyed 12 Vakron warships without taking a single hit. Commander Hyunwoo's voice came through the communication system. Admiral Subin, the unknown vessel is hailing us. You need to hear this. The message was short. It was transmitted in perfect Vakron with no accent, no errors. Someone on that ship spoke the Empire's language fluently. This is our space. 4 words. Simple, direct, and absolutely chilling. Subin felt the weight of those words. This was not a lost explorer. This was not an accident. This was a territorial claim. Humans were declaring ownership of space the Empire considered theirs. Send a response, Subin ordered. Tell them we want to negotiate. Admiral, one of her officers protested. The Empire does not negotiate with... The Empire does not have a choice, Subin interrupted. We need to know how many ships they have, where they are located, what their capabilities are. Until we know those things, we cannot plan a military response. The officer fell silent. He knew the Admiral was right. Hyunwoo sent the message. There was a long pause. Then the unknown ship responded. We will consider your request. Wait for our answer. The transmission ended. The unknown ship changed course, moving away from Border Station 447. It accelerated smoothly and vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving only debris and questions behind. Subin stood in the command center, surrounded by her officers. They all looked shaken. The Vakron Empire had built its power on military superiority. They had conquered civilizations. They had crushed rebellions. They had never been challenged by anyone they could not defeat, until now. "Get me Intelligence Officer Yuna," Subin said. "I want every piece of information we have about Earth and humanity. Everything from the first contact to now. I want to know what we are dealing with." As her officers scrambled to obey, Subin looked at the sensor records one more time. 12 ships, 47 seconds, and humanity had not even used their full strength. That ship had destroyed the squadron with casual efficiency, like someone swatting insects. If humans had built one ship like that, they could build more. Maybe they already had. Maybe there were dozens of those ships hidden in the darkness of space, watching the Empire's borders, waiting. The thought made Subin's blood run cold. For 3 centuries, the Vakron Empire had believed they were the dominant power in this region of space. They had been wrong, and now they would pay the price for their arrogance. Commander Yuna sat in the deep archives of Vakron intelligence, surrounded by data screens showing information from 150 years ago. She was methodical and patient, exactly the kind of person needed for this investigation. Admiral Subin had given her a simple order: find out everything about humanity. The first contact report was brief. A Vakron exploration ship had encountered Earth during a standard survey mission. The planet was inhabited by a species that called themselves humans. They had recently developed primitive faster-than-light drives. Their ships were slow and inefficient. Their weapons were crude. Their military organization was fragmented into dozens of competing nations. The Vakron assessment had been clear: not a threat, not worth the resources to conquer. The Empire had better targets in other systems. The exploration ship had taken its sensor readings and moved on. That was the last official record of human contact. For 150 years, the Vakron Empire had never bothered to check on Earth again. Yuna kept digging. She found trading records from frontier merchants. Occasionally, human ships had been spotted in remote systems, but they never entered Empire-controlled space. They stayed in regions the Vakron considered worthless. Empty systems with no valuable resources. Dead zones where no one wanted to settle, except humans had settled there. Quietly, carefully, without anyone noticing. Yuna compiled a list of reported human sightings. Over the last century, there had been 47 confirmed contacts. Each time, human ships had been polite but distant. They traded for information and supplies, then disappeared back into the frontier. The Vakron merchants had thought nothing of it. Humans were peaceful, harmless. Now Yuna understood. Humans had not been harmless. They had been learning. Every interaction with the Empire had been an intelligence-gathering operation. They had studied Vakron technology, language, tactics, and culture. And the Empire had never realized it was being watched. She sent her preliminary report to Admiral Subin, and then to High Chancellor Junho, the supreme ruler of the Vakron Empire. Within hours, she was summoned to the Chancellor's palace. Junho was an old man who had ruled for 30 years. He had seen the Empire expand, prosper, and dominate. Now he sat in his private office reading Yuna's report with a troubled expression. "You are telling me we ignored a potential threat for 150 years? Junho asked. "Yes, Chancellor. We assumed humanity would remain primitive. We were wrong." "How wrong?" Yuna displayed the sensor data from the battle at Border Station 447. "Their technology is far beyond ours. The ship that destroyed our squadron used weapons we cannot replicate. Their propulsion system is more efficient than anything we have. Their shields are impenetrable by our weapons." Junho was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke carefully. "What is your assessment of their military capability?" "Unknown. We have seen one ship. We do not know if they have 10 ships or 10,000 ships. We do not know where their bases are. We do not know their strategic objectives." Yuna paused. "But I can tell you what we do know. Humans are intelligent, adaptable, and patient. They spent 150 years preparing for this confrontation. They will not be easy to defeat." While Yuna briefed the Chancellor, Captain Sora was preparing for a reconnaissance mission. She commanded the fastest ship in the Vakron fleet, a scout vessel designed for deep space exploration. Admiral Subin had given her orders. Investigate the frontier systems where humans had been spotted. Find their colonies. Map their territory. Do not engage. Sora understood the stakes. This was not a combat mission. It was an intelligence operation. The Empire needed information and she was going to get it. Her ship jumped to the first target system. It was listed in the Empire's charts as uninhabited. No planet suitable for colonization, no valuable minerals, no reason for anyone to settle there. But when Sora's sensors activated, they detected artificial structures on the third planet. Orbital stations, surface settlements, ships moving between the stations and the surface. Humans were here, living and working in a system the Empire had dismissed as worthless. Sora moved carefully, keeping her distance. Her ship's stealth systems were good, but she did not know how good human sensors were. She recorded everything her instruments could detect, then jumped to the next system on her list. The same pattern repeated. Every uninhabited system she checked had human colonies. They were small, efficient, and well hidden. If you were not looking for them, you would never notice them. Sora counted 18 colonies in total. 18 systems where humans had quietly built homes while the Empire looked the other way. The population estimates were difficult to calculate, but it appeared humans numbered in the millions. Maybe tens of millions. She was preparing to jump to a 19th system when her sensors detected something new. 3 ships had appeared on her scanners. They were not Vacron designs. They had the same energy signature as the vessel that had destroyed Captain Minho's squadron, human warships, and they had found her. Sora's hand moved to the weapons controls, then stopped. Her orders were clear. Do not engage. She opened a communication channel instead. This is Captain Sora of the Vacron Empire. I'm on a peaceful reconnaissance mission. I mean no harm. There was a pause. Then a response came through in perfect Vacron. Captain Sora, you are in human territory without authorization. However, we appreciate your honesty. We will not attack. Sora felt relief flood through her. She had expected to die like Captain Minho. Instead, the humans were talking to her. We would like to invite you to a meeting, the human voice continued. We have matters to discuss with your government. We are sending you coordinates for a neutral location. Will you deliver this message to your superiors? Sora checked her sensors. The human ships were maintaining a respectful distance. They had not powered weapons. They were not attempting to intercept her. This was a genuine offer. I will deliver your message, Sora replied. The coordinates appeared on her navigation display, a location in deep space, far from both Vacron and human territories, a place where both sides could meet without advantage. Tell your leaders we want to talk about territory boundaries, the human voice said. We do not want war, but we will not be displaced from systems we have legally claimed and developed. We hope your government will be reasonable. The transmission ended. The human ships turned and moved away, accelerating into faster-than-light travel. Sora sat in her command chair, processing what had just happened. She had been caught by human patrols in their territory. They could have destroyed her easily. Instead, they had offered to negotiate. That told her something important. Humans were powerful, but they were not aggressive. They wanted peace if possible. That was good news. The Empire could work with that. She plotted a course back to Vacros Prime and transmitted her full report to Admiral Subin. Then she jumped to faster than light, carrying with her the first real hope that this crisis might be resolved without total war. Back in his office, High Chancellor Junho received Captain Sora's report. He read it twice, then called an emergency council session. Admiral Subin, Commander Yuna, and Dr. Yunji were summoned immediately. The humans want to negotiate, Junho announced. Captain Sora encountered their patrol ships. They could have killed her. Instead, they invited us to talks. It could be a trap, Admiral Subin suggested. Possibly. But I do not think so. Junho displayed the coordinates the humans had provided. This location gives neither side an advantage. And if they wanted to destroy us, they would have continued their attack at Border Station 447. They stopped. They withdrew. They are showing restraint. Yuna nodded. That matches what I found in the historical records. Humans prefer to avoid conflict when possible, but when they do fight, they fight to win. Then we will negotiate, Junho decided. Prepare a diplomatic team. I want our best negotiator leading this mission. Ambassador Jiho had negotiated treaties with 17 different civilizations during his career. He was known for his calm demeanor, his careful word choices, and his ability to find compromise even in difficult situations. But as his ship approached the coordinates the humans had provided, he felt something he rarely experienced: nervousness. This was different from any negotiation he had conducted before. Usually, the Vacron Empire held all the advantages. They had the stronger military. They controlled the territory. Other civilizations came to the table knowing they had to accept whatever terms the Empire offered. Not this time. Captain Taeyong commanded the security detail for the diplomatic mission. His team of 20 soldiers were the Empire's best, but even they looked uneasy. They had all seen the recordings from Border Station 447. They knew what human weapons could do. Minister Hyun sat across from Jiho in the ship's conference room, reviewing tactical data. She was the Empire's top military strategist, brought along to assess human capabilities and identify potential weaknesses. "We are approaching the meeting point," the pilot announced. Jiho looked out the viewport. 3 ships waited in the void of space. Human ships. Each one radiated the same powerful energy signature that had destroyed Captain Minho's squadron. The message was clear. Humans were negotiating from strength. A communication channel opened. "Ambassador Jiho, welcome. We have prepared a neutral vessel for our meeting. You may bring your full delegation aboard. You have our word that you will not be harmed." Jiho glanced at Taeyong, who nodded. His sensors detected no weapons charging, no hostile movements. The humans appeared sincere. "We accept your invitation," Jiho replied. A small shuttle departed from one of the human ships and docked with the Vakron vessel. The airlock opened, revealing a simple interior. No guards, no weapons. Just an empty corridor leading to a conference room. Jiho entered first, followed by Hyun, Taeyong, and 2 security officers. The conference room was plain and functional. A long table, chairs, display screens on the walls. Nothing threatening. 3 humans were already seated at the table. They stood when the Vakron delegation entered. The lead human was a woman with short dark hair and calm eyes. She extended her hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Ambassador Jiho, I am Delegate Mirai. Thank you for coming." Her Vakron was flawless, with no accent. Jiho shook her hand, noting the firm grip. "Thank you for the invitation. May I introduce Minister Hyun and Captain Taeyong?" Mirai introduced her colleagues, a military advisor named Bora, and a technology specialist named Kangmin. They all spoke perfect Vakron. They had clearly studied the Empire thoroughly. Everyone sat down. For a moment there was silence. Then Mirai spoke. "Let us be direct. We know why you are here. You want to understand our capabilities, our territory, and our intentions. We are willing to share that information. In return, we want the Vakron Empire to recognize our territorial claims and establish a formal border agreement." Jiho appreciated her directness. "Before we discuss borders, I must ask about the incident at Border Station 447. Why did you attack our ships?" Mirai's expression did not change. "Your ships surrounded one of our patrol vessels and fired on it. We defended ourselves. Nothing more. You destroyed 12 warships in less than a minute. Yes. We built our ships to survive encounters with superior forces. Your squadron represented a threat, so we eliminated it. If we had wanted to continue attacking, we would have destroyed your border station as well. We did not. We withdrew because we do not want war." Hyun leaned forward. "How many ships do you have?" Mirai smiled slightly. "Enough to defend our territory. That is all you need to know." It was a non-answer, but a clever one. Jiho understood. Humans would not reveal their full military strength. They wanted the Empire to wonder, to worry, to avoid testing their defenses. "Tell me about your territorial claims," Jiho said, changing the subject. Bora, the military advisor, activated a holographic display. A star map appeared, showing the frontier region of space. Red markers indicated human colonies. "We have established settlements in 18 systems," Bora explained. All of these systems were surveyed by the Vakron Empire and marked as uninhabitable or resource poor. "You did not want them." "We did." Jiho studied the map. The systems were scattered across a wide area, but they formed a rough border. Human territory was smaller than Vakron territory, but it was strategically positioned to control several important trade routes. "You are claiming systems that the Empire surveyed first," Jiho pointed out. "Survey is not settlement," Mirai replied. "Under standard interstellar law, territory belongs to whoever develops it, not whoever looks at it first. We have lived in these systems for over a century. We have built homes, farms, factories, and shipyards. These are our worlds now." Hyun was running calculations on her data pad. She looked up with a troubled expression. These systems give you control over the outer rim trade corridors. Ships traveling from the core systems to the frontier would have to pass through your space. That is correct, Mirai agreed. But we are not interested in disrupting trade. We simply want recognition and respect. Jiho considered his options. The Empire could refuse to recognize human claims. They could declare war and attempt to conquer these systems. But the cost would be enormous. Humans had proven they could destroy Vacron warships easily. A war would be long, bloody, and uncertain, or the Empire could negotiate. Accept the reality that they had missed an opportunity 150 years ago. Adjust to the new balance of power. What exactly do you want? Jiho asked. Mirai displayed a proposed treaty on the holographic screen. Formal recognition of our 18 systems as human territory. Free trade agreements. Non-aggression pact. Cultural exchange programs. And most importantly, an agreement that neither side will expand into the buffer zone between our territories without mutual consent. Jiho read through the proposal carefully. It was reasonable. Almost too reasonable. Humans were not demanding reparations for the attack on their patrol ship. They were not asking for control of additional systems. They simply wanted legal recognition of what they already possessed. This seems fair, Jiho admitted. But I will need approval from High Chancellor Junho before I can sign any agreement. We understand. Take the proposal back to your government. Discuss it with your leaders. We will wait for your answer, Mirai paused. But Ambassador, please make them understand something important. We are offering peace because we prefer peace, not because we fear war. If your government chooses to fight, we will defend ourselves, and the cost to the Vacron Empire will be far higher than 12 ships. It was a threat, but it was delivered without anger or arrogance. Just a simple statement of fact. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. They discussed trade routes, communication protocols, and potential areas of cooperation. Kang Min, the technology specialist, offered to share certain civilian technologies with the Empire. Not weapons, but medical advances, agricultural techniques, and environmental management systems. Why would you share technology with us? Heian asked suspiciously. Kangmin smiled. Because we want you to see us as partners, not enemies. And because these technologies will improve life in your empire, healthy, prosperous neighbors are better than hostile ones. Finally, the meeting ended. Jiho stood and shook hands with each of the human delegates. I will present your proposal to Chancellor Junho. I believe there is a path forward here. We hope so, Mirai said. The galaxy is large enough for both our civilizations. The Vacron delegation returned to their ship and began the journey back to Vacros Prime. Jiho sat in his quarters, reviewing his notes from the meeting. Humans were impressive. They had prepared thoroughly for this negotiation. They knew Vacron law, culture, and military doctrine. They had anticipated every argument the Empire might make. More importantly, they had shown restraint. They could have pressed their advantage, demanded more territory, insisted on reparations, but they had not. They wanted a fair agreement, nothing more. Captain Taeyong entered the quarters. Ambassador, we are receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Subin. She is coming here. With the Grand Fleet, Jiho felt his stomach drop. The Grand Fleet was the Empire's largest military formation. 300 warships. If Subin was bringing that kind of force, it meant only one thing. She intended to fight. The Grand Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 300 warships, the largest concentration of military power the Vacron Empire had ever assembled. Admiral Subin stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the tactical displays with grim satisfaction. She had not been part of the decision to negotiate with humans. High Chancellor Junho had made that choice without consulting her. But Subin was the military commander, and she had her own ideas about how to deal with threats to the Empire. Admiral, we are detecting Ambassador Jiho's ship ahead, her sensor officer reported. And 3 human vessels. Battle stations, Subin ordered. All ships assume combat formation. The Grand Fleet moved into position, surrounding the small diplomatic meeting area. It was an overwhelming display of force. 300 Vacron warships against 3 human ships. The message was clear. The Empire would not be intimidated. On the diplomatic vessel, Ambassador Jiho watched the Grand Fleet arrive with growing horror. He grabbed his communication unit and opened a channel to Subin's flagship. Admiral, what are you doing? We are in the middle of diplomatic negotiations. Subin's face appeared on the screen. Negotiations are over, Ambassador. The Vacron Empire does not bargain with inferior species. We will demonstrate our true strength and force these humans to surrender. Admiral, you are making a terrible mistake. Subin cut the transmission. She turned to her weapons officer. Target the human ships. Prepare to fire on my command. But before the order could be given, something unexpected happened. The human ships transmitted data directly to Subin's flagship. Not a message, not a threat, just raw tactical information. The data appeared on every screen in the command center. It was a complete breakdown of the Grand Fleet's formation, weapon systems, shield configurations, and strategic vulnerabilities. The information was so detailed that it could only have come from deep intelligence gathering. Then the analysis began. The human data showed exactly how they would counter every ship in the Grand Fleet, which vessels they would target first, which weapons would be most effective, how they would exploit the weaknesses in Vacron shield technology. It was not a threat. It was proof. The humans had studied the Vacron military so thoroughly that they could predict and defeat any conventional attack. They had run the simulations. They knew the outcome, and they were showing Subin exactly what would happen if she ordered her fleet to fire. Subin stared at the data. Her officers were silent, reading the same information. The conclusion was inescapable. The Grand Fleet would lose, not because humans had more ships, but because they had better technology, better tactics, and better intelligence. Admiral, her tactical officer said quietly, this data is accurate. If we engage, our casualties will be catastrophic. Subin felt anger and frustration warring inside her. She had brought 300 ships to prove Vacron dominance. Instead, she was being shown that dominance was an illusion. A new transmission came from the human ships. Delegate Mirai's voice was calm and professional. Admiral Subin, we do not want to fight you. We are showing you this information so you understand that attacking us would be futile and wasteful. We have no desire to destroy your fleet. We only want to live in peace in the systems we have claimed. Please let us resolve this through negotiation, not violence. Commander Hyunwoo was watching the confrontation from Border Station 447. He had seen firsthand what human weapons could do. He understood what Subin refused to accept. The Empire's military superiority was gone. Humans had surpassed them while they were looking the other way. He opened a secure channel to High Chancellor Junho. Chancellor, you need to intervene. Admiral Subin is about to start a war we cannot win. Junho was already aware of the situation. He had been monitoring the diplomatic mission closely. When he saw the Grand Fleet arrive, he knew immediately what Subin was planning. Open a channel to Admiral Subin's flagship, Junho ordered. Maximum priority. Override all other communications. The transmission went through. Junho's face appeared on every screen in Subin's command center. Admiral Subin, stand down immediately. That is a direct order from your Chancellor. Subin turned to face the screen. Chancellor, we have an opportunity here. 300 ships against 3. We can lose 300 ships, Junho interrupted. I have seen the data the humans transmitted. I have consulted with our best analysts. If you attack, you will be destroyed, and the Empire will be left defenseless. We cannot show weakness. Wisdom is not weakness. The Empire survived for 3 centuries because we knew when to fight and when to negotiate. This is a time to negotiate. Junho's voice became harder. Admiral, I am relieving you of command. Return to Vacros Prime immediately. Ambassador Jiho will continue the diplomatic mission. Subin's face went white. She had served the Empire for 12 years as its highest military commander. Now she was being removed from command because she wanted to defend Vacron honor. But orders were orders. She saluted stiffly. Yes, Chancellor. The Grand Fleet began withdrawing. The massive show of force dissolved as ships turned away and jumped back into faster-than-light travel. Within minutes, only Ambassador Jiho's vessel remained. Jiho opened a channel to the human ships. Delegate Mirai, please accept my apologies for Admiral Subin's actions. The Chancellor has made it clear that we are committed to peaceful negotiations. Mirai's response was gracious. No apology necessary, Ambassador. We understand that your military has concerns, but we are glad cooler heads prevailed. Lieutenant Jiwon, still at her post on Border Station 447, watched the crisis resolve with immense relief. She had been certain she was about to witness the beginning of a terrible war. Instead, she saw something she never expected. The Vacron Empire backing down. It was not surrender. It was recognition. Recognition that the galaxy had changed. that humans were no longer the primitive species the Empire had dismissed 150 years ago. They were equals, dangerous, capable equals. The negotiations resumed. This time there was no posturing, no threats, no military displays, just honest discussion between two civilizations trying to find a way to coexist. Ambassador Jiho and Delegate Mirai worked through the details of the treaty over the next 3 days. Border definitions, trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, dispute resolution procedures. Every clause was carefully written to be fair to both sides. High Chancellor Junho approved the final treaty. It was signed in a small ceremony aboard the neutral diplomatic vessel. Humans got formal recognition of their 18 systems. The Empire got assurances of safe passage through the trade corridors. Both sides agreed to establish embassies and begin regular diplomatic contact. When the treaty was complete, Mirai offered one final gesture of goodwill. We would like to share some of our civilian technology with you. Medical advances that could save thousands of lives in your empire. Agricultural techniques that could improve food production. We are not sharing weapons technology, but we want to help, if you will accept. Jiho accepted gratefully. Dr. Unji was assigned to lead the technology exchange program. She traveled to one of the human colonies and spent weeks learning about their innovations. She was amazed by what she found. Humans had not just matched Vacron technology. They had exceeded it in many fields. Lieutenant Jiwan received a promotion and a new assignment. She was posted to the first joint human Vacron research station, established in the buffer zone between the two territories. Her job was to help monitor the border and ensure both sides honored the treaty. On her first day at the new station, she met a human technician named Suyun. They worked together calibrating the sensor arrays. Suyun was friendly and professional, eager to learn about Vacron technology while sharing human innovations. Did you serve at Border Station 447? Soo-hyun asked during a break. Yes, I was there when your ship destroyed our squadron. Soo-hyun nodded soberly. That must have been frightening. I am sorry it happened. We did not want to fight. I understand that now, but at the time it seemed impossible. How did you become so advanced so quickly? Soo-hyun smiled. We had good motivation. We knew stronger civilizations were out there. We knew we had to be prepared. So we worked hard. We innovated. We never stopped improving. It is what humans do. Commander Hyunwoo remained at Border Station 447, now redesignated as a joint monitoring facility. He watched ships pass through the corridor, both Vacron and human vessels traveling freely under the new treaty. One day he saw a familiar energy signature on his sensors, the ship that had destroyed Captain Minho's squadron. It was now properly registered in the database. Its name was the Frontier Guardian. The ship sent a courtesy greeting as it passed. Hyunwoo returned the greeting. There was no hostility. Just two professionals doing their jobs. Captain Sora became the Vacron Empire's official liaison to human territory. She spent months traveling between human colonies, learning about their culture and society. What she found surprised her. Humans were not warlike or aggressive. They were exploratory and curious, much like the Vacron had been centuries ago. What happened to us? She asked Commander Yuna one day. We used to be explorers, innovators. When did we become stagnant? Yuna considered the question. Success made us complacent. We conquered so much that we forgot we could be challenged.